I would like to now hand the meeting over to Earl H from California. Over to you, Earl. Thank you so much.
Uh, Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name's Earl. I'm an alcoholic. Oh, alcoholic. I'm going to learn to say it better. Uh, um, Thank you, Maya, for keeping track of me. She's been texting me at an increasing rate as the date has come upon us, because and with good reason, because I have been known to wander off. Anyway, thank you, Maya. Hold on. That's my dog attacking my guitar right now. I don't know why she's doing that. Let me hold on. Let me. Great start. Great start. Lila, come here, Delilah. Come on. Go away. Yeah. So, like I said, my name's Earl. I'm an alcoholic. Apparently, my dog is as well. And congratulations to all the people, the new people coming in, the people counting days. That is inspiring to me. I came in so broken. I didn't. I was terrified that if I told you the truth about who I was, that you'd ask me to leave, because that you look like reasonable people, and that's what reasonable people would do. So I didn't have a lot to say when I first got here, which was a good thing. I just checked on days. I have 16,545 days today, um, uh, consecutive, no breaks, no weekends off, straight in a row. And that's because I had a place to go. That's because of Alcoholics Anonymous. Um, I owe everything that I have to Alcoholics Anonymous. Just very briefly, in 50 minutes, it's a program of action is the topic. I started drinking when I was 12 years old, and I drank every day and used every day. I'm a child of the 60s. I'm an old hippie. I drank and used for 16 years on a daily basis until they told me I was going to die or I was going to go to AA. I had a 47-day detox in a free clinic that had 42 old army cots in a room. There were 21 cots on each side of the room with sheets drawn between the cots. And how you kicked was it was called riding the cot. You just got in the cot and took the ride, man. And I was addicted to pretty much everything. I'm not a specialist. My drug of choice has always been, what do you got? It's all anti-Earl medication to me. And I think that that's important to know that primarily it was not about let's go up. Let's get is more cocaine than we can carry, and start driving the freeways, decoding license plates. Let's do the psychotic thing, or let's go down. I prefer down. Alcohol, heroin, barbiturates. These are a few of my favorite things. I like heart and lungs working. I like just being right in here. Everything else just gets blocked out, numbed out completely. That's my favorite. But most important for me was I got to get out of right here, right now. Because right here, right now, I'm restless, I'm irritable, I'm discontented. Right here, right now, I'm comparing my insides to your outsides, and I'm losing every time. I come from a violent home. My father was a very cruel, violent man. And I thought that that was the world. I thought that's the way the world was. So, I grew up with my head on a swivel, my fists up. I fought a lot. I got in a lot of trouble, got kicked out of a lot of schools. I got thrown in a couple of nut houses along the way. Um, I had a guy call me an alcoholic when I was 16 and a half years old. And my response was, what's your point? If you want to call me that, fine. But if you think that's going to change how I function, how I operate, you're out of your mind. The only reason we're talking is because I've had a few. I don't leave the house unprotected. And by protected, I mean I got something in my system that buffers the world, that keeps you at bay. Um, and when I couldn't do that anymore and it happened for me in a blackout. When I came out of my last blackout, I'm trying to get sober as fast as I can. When I came out of my last blackout, I was 27 years old. I It was the day before my 28th birthday. I was 215 pounds. I was yellow. I was dying of alcoholism because in the end, it was all about the drugs were there to keep me on my feet so that I could drink the way I wanted to drink. Um, Alcohol was always reliable. Drugs were completely unreliable. I mean, you had no idea what you had until you got it in your body. But if you got yourself a good fifth of gin or a good quart of Jack Daniels, you knew that you could get to that dark, quiet place that I would seek and keep the addiction devils away. I mean, the detox devils away. Yeah, just we don't want to do that, do we? Right? And anyway, I remember coming out of the blackout and my family was dead. I had been in a plane crash, and I was the only member of my family to survive a plane crash. And I had got busted from head to toe, back, skull, arm, leg, crushed. I was, you know, um, got hurt very badly. And this was a year after I had been diagnosed with malignant cancer and had had major surgery on my upper back for cancer. They had told me at 21 years of age to get my affairs in order, which I thought was humorous because I was like, well, what affairs? I make a couple of phone calls and we're good to go here. I've done nothing with my life. I was like a feral child. I had no idea what it meant to be a part of anything. I didn't know what it meant to be, because of my alcoholism. I didn't know how to be a part of a family. I didn't know how to be a part of a community. I didn't know how to be a friend. I didn't know how to do any of the things that I think normal people just sort of took for granted as the natural progression of growing up. I didn't grow up. I just got loaded. And when I came to, like I said, family dead, no friends, no place to live, stabbed twice, shot at. The violence in my life had been crazy because, like I said before, that was normal for me. I didn't think of that as extreme. But when you're, I mean, it's a bad thing to get to the point in life where you're so numb, you're so dead inside that you need to hear a bullet go by to feel like you've had an interesting evening. You know what I mean? Life has gotten way off course. And I remember sitting there and the police were there and an ambulance was there. And I asked, why do we need the police here? And they said, because they're deciding whether or not to charge you with the attempted murder of David Lubin and Luboff, David Luboff. And I had no recollection of that. Both my hands were broken. So I know I'd been going at it. It'd been one of those blackouts. And out of my mouth came these words, please help me. And I had no idea what was happening to me, that I couldn't. It was over. Something had happened in that blackout. If I had a moment of clarity, I had it in the darkness of that blackout. And I came out and it was over. And that's when they threw me in an ambulance and they took me and got my stomach pumped and took me to another place for 5 days. And then they took me down to Long Beach General to my cot, threw me in my cot, and I spent 47 more days in that cot. And then Ray W. told me, God love him, he said, Earl, if you don't want to die, you got to go to AA. And I remember thinking, my life has been hell for 6 years straight. I mean, it'd gotten, I was just bouncing off the bottom, was what I was doing. And ended up being told I got to go to the ANA. And I remember it was such a demoralizing thought to me. It's like, really? I gotta go to that. Those guys are very serious about this not drinking thing. I don't know if this is the right place for me to be. And I remember sitting there looking at him quietly, like, and or and nothing came. It was just, no, go to AA or die. And I was like, great. Enjoyed our little conversation. Thank you very much. And I ended up on a Friday night in the basement of a church, hair down to my elbows, mad dogging everybody. Not a friendly guy. My social skills were extremely limited. And I sat in the back of the room with my arms folded, with my best tough guy look on my face, trying to keep people from coming up to me. And the old timers saw me come in, and I mean, a couple of them later on told me they saw me come in, and they said, "Oh, this is going to be fun. We're going to enjoy this one." And they said, "There's the coffee over there, kid. Get yourself a cup of coffee, have yourself a seat, and good luck with all that you got going on in that head right there." And they stayed away. They gave me space, which is what I needed. Right? I didn't need them, to be circled by a group of AA people with big books going, let's take turns going at him, to see if he can break through. They gave me room to breathe, to just settle in, right? To take it easy. So, and I got to tell you, everybody at this meeting who is early on or is returning, God bless you. I mean, you're braver than I was, that you're able to step up and say announce that you're here and how long you're here. I have such respect for that. I could not do it. Never raised my hand. Never took a chip. Didn't take a cake until I was 3 years sober. And the only reason I did was because I'll get to that. But I remember sitting in the back of this room, and every meeting's got the guy who's just caught fire with Alcoholics Anonymous. He's usually got 6 to 9 months. Somebody said, we have a book. You should, and they start going through the steps, and they, their brain explodes, and they have to tell everybody about what they found. And this meeting had that guy, and he saw me, and he didn't see volatile, unhinged individual. He saw new guy, and that's all he needed. That was go. And he ran up on me and he said, "Hey, my name's Vegas. I'm an alcoholic." And I said, "Yeah, so what? What are you so? I don't know why you're so happy about this. Get away from me." And he looked at me very seriously and he said, "You keep coming back." And there was like 4 guys standing over to the side that was like, "Oh, wow, did you see that? Vegas told the crazy guy to keep coming back." And I was like, what is this place, right? But I sat in my seat because, thank God, I had no place else to go. I had no scheduling conflicts, and this guy got up and shared his experience. The main guy got up, and because I couldn't track a lot. So, I mean, there was a lot that went on that I missed. But this guy got up and he shared his experience, strength, and hope. I didn't know that's what he was doing. He talked about what he was like, what happened, and what he was like now. And I remember he talked about what he was like out there. And I was like, yeah, me too. I identified. Didn't know that's what I was doing, but I did. It's like, yeah, I get that. And then he said, something happened. I was like, yeah, something happened, or I wouldn't be sitting here. And that I had nothing to say about. It just happened. And then he talked about what his life was like today. And I thought, nope, I got none of that. But 2 out of 3, I was nodding yes. And that was the best I'd done in a long time. And they said this thing that I couldn't believe they said it to me. They said, "Keep coming back." Like, seriously? All right. I will do that. And I did every day. I kept coming back. And listen, and I came back, and then a lady got up and shared. And I was like, and I thought that guy talked at that meeting. And then the lady got up, and I was like, who's this lady? And what'd you do with Bob? Where's Bob? And they went, "No, we do a different speaker every week." And my head almost blew off my neck. I was like, what? I mean, different speakers, topics, different kinds of meetings. I mean, it was just too much to me. I mean, I was good with get car, go AA, go home. That's it, right? I can do that. And all I did was I just kept coming. I stayed. I just stayed. And, didn't tell anybody anything about me. No, it was not required that I do so. I could stay. I could just be there. They would let me just be there and listen. Why are you guys people that drank like me, and now you're these happy people? You're these people that seem to be enjoying life. I don't understand how you got from where I am to where you are now. I don't get it. And day by day, they showed me, right? And if you're new, there was this, they don't have it anymore, but there used to be a circle with a triangle. on the cover jacket of the big book. And it's an ancient spiritual symbol that stands for mind, body, and spirit brought together as a whole human being. And therein lies the balance that I sought. I couldn't find it drunk or sober. Alcoholics Anonymous adopted that symbol, and it's the same thing, but they changed the words a little bit to make it more specific to us. And it's unity, service, and recovery. Unity's the body. I bring it here. I stay with you. I couldn't stay sober, but we seem to be able to. That's what's the first word in the steps. We admitted that we were alcoholic, could not manage our own lives. That and a lot happened. We'll talk about that. Unity was the body. I brought it here. Recovery was of the mind, the greater aspect of my illness, because I suffer from alcoholism. It's an allergy of the body and an obsession of the mind. It's a twofold attack that this thing does to me, right? Once I start drinking, the physical phenomenon of craving occurs, and I crave more. I want more. And I can't stop. I just keep going. I want to stop, but I don't seem to be able to do that on my own. And I end up in jails, institutions, detoxes, all kinds of stuff, right? None of it pleasant. I never came out of a blackout in a spa. Let's put it that way. That never happened to me. And unity's the body. I bring it here. Recovery's of the mind. I worked the 12 steps because I can if it was just about physically getting sober, detox centers would be kicking out winners. It'd be 72 hours and free. People say, where you been? Or I had to go in and kick again. How you doing? I'm great. Oh, it's all good, man. Not drinking. What else you doing? Nothing. Not drinking. How you feeling? Very angry, but I'm not drinking. And eventually, the obsession of the mind kicks in. The persistence of this illusion, this belief in a lie. I'm quoting / paraphrasing the big book. This belief in a lie that I can drink like a normal man is astonishing. That's the word they use. It's astonishing. And many of us pursue it to the gates of insanity and death. And I'm a gate guy. I go right to the bottom of the barrel. That's where I go. And I learned that I had to address the obsession of the mind, or I wasn't going to be able to do what this is really all about. This is not about stopping drinking for me. This is about how do I stay stopped. And the only way I'm going to stay stopped is if I do the whole thing. And we hear it all the time. And when they read a portion of chapter 5, how it works in meetings, the first sentence is, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. I instantly thought, I need to find out what thoroughly means. What do they mean by that? Because I'm not a half measures kind of guy. I mean, I knew that already. I knew I was either all in or all out. And if you're new, I beseech you, try to find a way in. It was alluded to in when Maya was talking in the beginning, to look for something that you can connect to look for a way in, not for a way out. Because if you look for a way out, you'll find one. Because we're human and we're flawed and we're imperfect expressions of this beautiful program. But if you look for a way in, you'll find that too. It's there. You'll find a way in and be able to stay stopped. And the only way a guy like me can stay stopped is if I'm relieved of the obsession to drink, which is the obsession of the mind. The thing that tells me I can drink like a normal man, when I have 16 years of experience that says I cannot. So I worked the 12 steps as outlined in the big book. I respectfully suggest that the best way to go about learning how to stay stopped is to, one, you do 4 things. 1, go to regular meetings regularly. Go to meetings where people recognize your face and start saying hello to you, asking you your name. So that if you disappear, people will go, hey, where did Earl go? Oh, where did Earl go? Right? That. So go to regular meetings regularly, which I did, because they told me to. And I didn't say, fine, I'll go because you told me to, because I would never admit to doing anything anybody told me to do. But I did what they told me to do. Um, we'll go to regular meetings, get a sponsor. And a sponsor, and in my mind, is a sponsor is somebody who's got what he wants, not what I want, what he wants. That's a good definition of happiness: is wanting what you have. Somebody who's made it to comfortably sober. Somebody that's worked the 12 steps as outlined in the big book. Find that man, find that woman, and say, "Will you sponsor me?" And if they say yes, then it's my job to reach out to them, to call them and go, "Hey, it's me. I have no idea why I'm calling you, but apparently I'm supposed to. So you're going to have to take it from here, please." You know, jump into the conversation because I have no idea what I'm doing. And so the sponsor, okay, let's open the book and read together. But great, I got a book. The guy gave me one quite a while ago, and I know where it is. I have it right here. And so I go to regular meetings regularly. I get a sponsor. I work the steps as outlined in that book with that sponsor, and an awakening occurs. I get relieved of the obsession to drink. Sounds like magic, but it's not. It's footwork. It's the action that we take. It is a program of action, as some fellow challenged me to talk about before the meeting started, and I applaud him for doing so. Because you can go to a lot of meetings and not hear about the steps. Here's what I learned. Me and a buddy of mine, my first friend, my original friend, Christopher, we're still friends. I'm 45 years sober now. He'll be 47 March 5th. And that right there shows you things have changed. That I have information like that about another human being shows that I have grown, because I didn't care anything about anybody. No, it's too painful to love and be loved. I'd done it and I got crushed. I'm not going to do it. And nobody said I couldn't. I had to do that to stay sober. So thank you very much. I'll do this A&A thing with you, but you know what I mean. If you want to, kumbaya, get another guy. I'm not that guy. So he calls me up and he goes, "I found these guys, Joe and Charlie." And it's the original Joe and Charlie's. The big book comes alive. They were on cassette. It dates me. They were on cassette. Nobody had heard of a CD. And we put in these tapes and we opened up the book and we read along in the book with Joe and Charlie. And we would stop and we would talk about words and things that were going on. And then we would just keep going. We read the doctor's opinion and the first 164 pages. And there was only one thing that they insisted we do. Everything was a suggestion except for one thing. And one thing, and I'm not going to tell you where it is because you should go in the book and find it. It says that we absolutely insist upon enjoying life. And I thought, God, of all the things they could have insisted on, really? That's it? To enjoy life? Not we absolutely insist that you survive. We absolutely that you stop committing crimes. Nope. Absolutely insist on enjoying life. Like, all right. And we kept reading, and at a certain point, Christopher stopped and he goes, "I got to stop and tell you, you're freaking me out." I go, "What am I doing? I'm just reading with you." And he goes, "Yeah, and you're changing, and it's freaking me out. You're calming down. You're not so twitchy. You're not jumping on everything." I said, "Yeah. I could say the same thing to you. You seem different. Like, I don't know. Like, there's a middle to you. I didn't know how to put words to it. Like, you have a middle now. And I guess I have a middle." And it was just this bizarre thing. And we would be reading along, and like every 10 minutes or so, one of us would stop and go, "Time out. You know that thing they say in the meetings? Here it is right here in this book." And they go on to explain it in here. Who knew? And it's like, he'd go, "I know." And then we'd read along, and a little bit later, he'd go, "Hey, you know that thing they said? Here it is. Another one of those things, those slogan things they keep throwing at us. Here it is." And they explain the nature and the value of the slogan. It's not just because it's cute and chirpy. It's because it's pertinent and valid to our getting to bed sober tonight. I thought, well, okay. And basically what it was about was we worked without realizing it. We worked through the 12 steps as outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Third thing you do, go to regular meetings, get a sponsor, work the 12 steps as outlined in the book. And having had a spiritual awakening is the result of the steps. That was the whole point of working the steps, was to be relieved of the obsession to drink. The mental obsession being removed, I now have something I can give away. You can't give anything away unless your own house is in order. But once you've done that, it is, and you can. You can turn to the man next to you and say, how can I help? Because if he says, well, yeah, I don't get step 4, you can say, let's get the book and see what it says and talk about it. But always referring back to the book. The original 100, the guys, the men and women that got sober when it was not hip or clean or cool to do so. These are the pariah of society, and they got clean and sober at a time in a time like that. These were the hardcore OGs, man. These were the original sober gangsters, man. These guys, and I'm gonna play it their way, not the the hip West Side LA. Let's smoke a joint and work a step. No, I say. And I shouldn't put that on LA because everybody talks about, the California AA. That's bullshit. There's no California AA. We work AA just like everybody else, right out of that book. So, units of body, I bring it to you. I go to regular meetings. I get a sponsor, work the steps. What are they? Very, very simple. There's 12 of them, right? Step 1 is, what's the problem here? If you don't know what the problem is, you don't know what solution you need. You need to know what's going on. So the book explains, in the doctor's opinion, it explains to me the duality of my disease, the obsession of the mind, the allergy of the body, and why it's necessary that I do these certain things to be relieved of this dilemma that I face, this inability to stay stopped, right? So step 1 I have to admit to my innermost self that I'm an alcoholic. That's the first step in recovery. It says that, I believe, on page 30. And so everything says that's true for me. I admit I'm powerless over alcohol. My whole life's unmanageable. It's a direct result of that one thing. Well, if that's my problem, what's the solution? Interesting, you should ask. Step 2, the very next step, is the solution. Could I come to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity, soundness of mind, relieve me of the obsession to drink and use? Well, it's going to have to be something more powerful than me, because I've tried everything I know, and I get drunk every single time. So I know what the problem is. I know what the solution is going to have to be. A power greater than myself. It's going to restore me to sanity. And by restore me to sanity, they mean clear thinking, right? Which I don't have when it comes to this particular issue. Third step is, well, I know the problem and solution. What should I do about it? Good question. Step 3 says that I should turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand them, or don't understand them. Don't let that trip you up. Say, okay, you got to turn your will and your life over to the care of God. I'm out. I don't believe in God. Here, that's for all you. Thanks for sharing. I'm out. No, just wait a minute. Just wait a minute, right? Get out on your knees, say the 3rd step prayer, turn your will and your life over to the care of a God you may or may not understand, you may or may not believe in. Not really relevant. What's relevant is that you become willing to say, I'm not in charge. If I stay in charge, this is all going to fall apart. So I'm going to drop the reins. I'm going to surrender that. I'm going to drop the reins. I'm going to put this in the hands of others, right? So I do that 3rd step prayer. I get back up on the couch and says, great, we hope you were serious about this, because here we go. We're going into the action steps, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4 and 5 is me. 6 and 7 is God. 8 and 9 is everybody else. And that's the whole team, folks. There is no one else to play with. And what the steps are suggesting to me at this point, and I said this to Christopher at the time, I said, do you realize what they're offering people like us? He goes, I got an idea, but what's your point? And I said, it's almost like my life is this Etch-a-Sketch. You know what I mean? And I've just screwed it all up so bad that you can't recognize, you can't make out a picture or any sense out of what I've scribbled onto this Etch-a-Sketch at all. It's just chaos. That's what it looks like, is chaos. And they're telling me that I can take this Etch-a-Sketch and just shake it, and I get a blank screen. And I get to rebuild my life based on these principles, that I can actually go about my life with a plan that is pertinent to who I am at my very core. It's a gift beyond anything I could possibly have imagined. And 4 and 5, I do this inventory on resentment, fear, and sex. I swallow large chunks of truth about myself. I cut it loose. And then in 5, a guy walks in. I share this stuff with him. He says, good luck with that. Out he goes. 4 and 5, right? I've taken all this stuff that's inside. I've put it out. There it is on paper, right? Resentments, fear, sex. Because if you want to look where I will go sideways, those are great areas to examine, right? Then it's 6 and 7. If you look in the book, it's very interesting. There's a lot of conversation about 4 and 5. 6 and 7, couple of sentences. Very just zip, zip, because they know, right? They know I will hang there forever because I read ahead. I'm an alcoholic. I want to know what's coming, right? And I've looked at 8 and 9, and I don't want to go anywhere near that. So I'm going to hover in 6 and 7 and going to go, where are you in the steps, Earl? I'm on 7. I'm humbly asking, humbly. I'm working on humbly. How long have you been doing this? About 8 years now. I've been working on humbly, humility. And by the way, if you're new, let's just get it real simple. Humility is the willingness to learn. For me, it's my personal opinion. All the stuff I'm saying is my opinion. I represent me here, nobody else, right? But that I would have the humility to learn, that I would open up and recognize that I have not had a good point of view, a valuable point of view for myself or for anyone else. My presence on this planet has been of no value to anyone. So maybe I need to open up to consciousness beyond my own. And that's what 6 and 7 were about for me, is that the defects of character, I'm going to name some, I'm going to forget others, I'm going to not want to talk about others because I would like to continue those for a little while, if you don't mind. And I'm going to behave like that, as opposed to just saying, hey, take it. Just take it. Leave my decision making out of this. Take it. I humbly ask God to remove my shortcomings, my defects of character. Bill Wilson didn't like to say the same thing twice, the same way twice. So defects of character, it's the same thing, right? 8 and 9, a lot of conversation in the big book about 8 and 9 because they're going to let me out of the house now. I've been in the house doing this and had one guy come in, do the 5th step, leave. I'm on the phone talking to people. I'm going to meetings, but as far as the steps are concerned, I've been on it's just been me and Christopher and Joe and Charlie on cassette and rolling through this stuff. Now I'm going to make a list of all the people I've harmed, and I'm going to make direct amends wherever I can, except when to do so would injure them or others. Like I can tell the difference. Right? Again, value of a sponsor. So I call the sponsor up and I go, I made these 3x5 cards and I got all my amends on here. And I said, I think I'm going to need to put a large portion of these in my will because this is going to take longer than I'm going to be alive to really do this, to pay all this money back, to apologize to all these people. To make these things right. This is unbelievable. He goes, one at a time, buddy, one at a time. Just take the card off the top, go do it. And if you're concerned about whether or not you should be talking to this person, call me. We'll discuss it, and we'll decide how you go about making that amends, whether it's directly or indirectly. And I said, okay. And it took me. I had gotten a job at some point. And I was making real good money, but I was living in a bootleg apartment over a garage. And I lived there for 6.5 years in that one room. Because every dime I made went to making my amends. Because I had a guy look at me right in the eye and say, how free do you want to be, Earl? How free do you want to be? And my answer was, I didn't come here to get kind of free. I want the big buzz. I want the big buzz. I don't want the little bitty baby buzz. When I was out there, I never said, no, thank you, I've had enough. If you can say it, it's not true. I never did that. In here, I'm approaching it the same way. I want it all. Give it all to me. So whatever it takes is whatever it takes. So I lived there, and 6.5 years to complete my amends. I couldn't believe it that I got it done. And all the time I'm going to meetings, and my life is getting better, and I'm making friends. A life is building around me. I'm noticing that when certain people don't show up at the meeting, I go, oh, man, PK didn't show in here this week. I was looking forward to seeing him. And the other voice in my head going, what did you just say? You were looking forward to seeing somebody? What's the matter with you? Right? I mean, it just, the battle that raged in my head didn't stop. It changed. And I fought myself over new things, And I just kept coming, and I kept doing the things that they told me to do. So 8 and 9 was making those direct amends. 10, 11, and 12 kept me in the game. And they told me that these promises were going to happen before I was halfway through. And there was one promise in there that really aggravated me. It was a promise that said, I won't regret the past nor wish to shut the door upon it. And I thought, well, that's bullshit, because I've had things happen in my life that are never, ever going to be of any value to me or anybody else ever. They were just tragic, horrible, awful things that when I came in, it's outside the issue, but my PTSD was through the roof. If I walked into, I got tortured by the federales for 3.5 days when I was in Mexico. And whenever I would go into the basement of a church, they have the cheapest lighting you can buy in basements of churches, right? Fluorescent lighting. And that's what I got tortured under. I didn't realize that's what was happening. But I would walk into a room with fluorescent lighting, and I'd immediately go have a panic attack. And I would sit in meetings sweating, heart palpitating, tasting the adrenaline in my mouth. I mean, just vision blurred, losing it. People saying, you okay? I'm fine. My newcomer mantra, I'm fine. Until I got outside help. When somebody recognized what was happening to me, said, you need to go get outside help for this, or you're not going to make it. And I said, okay. And I went and got outside help. And thank God I did, because now I can just clock stuff, and, my heart rate may go boop like that, and then I'm just back to normal. I'm cool. And again, an AA member pulled me aside after a meeting and saved my life. That only happened like 50 times, where I was on the brink of utter disaster, and somebody just grabbed a hold of me and said, come on, let's go do a meeting. Let's talk, get it out. We used the tools that we'd found in this big book, that we found in meetings, these things that people said at the podium and went, wow, that was valuable. That's real life information. That's useful for a guy like me. And I believe it's useful because it's coming from a guy like me, right? Positive reinforcement is taking place. And I didn't have words for any of this stuff. I just knew that I was getting better doing what AA told me to do, suggested I do, pardon me. And so 10, 11, and 12 kept me in the game. And I refuse to acknowledge that one particular promise. So I'm driving home one day, and there's a meeting that I always avoided because it was in the church where my family's funeral was when we flew everybody out of Mexico and we had a, and I got out of the hospital and yeah. And there was a Monday night meeting in this church, and I couldn't go in there. I couldn't go in there. And I'm the kind of guy that, like, if I can't do something that pisses me off, I have to do it. Right. So I decided today's the day. It's Monday, and I just yanked the car up and I went to the meeting and I sat down. I walked in and the guy who was leading the meeting, gave me a high five, right? Because he knew me and I knew him. We were head nodding buddies in meetings, right? How you doing, bro? And they had somebody shared something, and then they started participation. And this, I didn't raise, and people raised their hand. This guy goes, "Hey, Earl, you want to share?" And this woman stands up and screams, and everybody's just like, "Whoa!" And she says, "Are you Earl Hightower?" And I said, "Yes," thinking, "Where is this going? I don't know where this is going. Is this some of my past coming back to punish me?" And she comes over to me, bursts into tears, comes over, sits down on my lap, and just starts crying. And I'm just holding her, patting her on the back, looking at everybody over her shoulder like, I have no idea what's happening here. And what I love about AA is, some old timer didn't go, "God damn it, this is an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. What the hell is happening here? We've got a format. For Christ's sake, lady, get out of that guy's lap and get back in your goddamn seat. Jesus, what are we doing here?" They didn't do that. They just went, "Well, I guess we're going this way now." And they just rolled with it. And she said, "I've been looking for you for 2 years." And I just went, "Oh, okay. How can I help? What's up?" And she said, "I was in a plane crash and I lost some people that I really loved and I got hurt real bad. And I've been struggling staying sober. And people told me, you got to find Earl. Earl can talk to you about this because we share experience, strength, and hope here, right? And he's got that experience that you're struggling with. Talk to him." And she looked me right in the eye and she said, "Can I make it?" And I said, "Yes, we can. I can't. You can't, but we can. We can make, yes, yes. You're going to be okay. You stay with us, And then I took her outside afterwards and talked about getting outside help for the trauma and all that sort of stuff, right? But I said, you can get all the therapy you want. If you don't stay sober first, I don't care how much therapy you do, it's not going to be of any value whatsoever. You got to stay stopped. You got to learn how to stay stopped first and then do the other stuff, right? And so I had to accept that promise as being true in my life, that my having lived through that had been of value to another human being. That promise came true when least expected. And then 10, 11, and 12 kept me in the game. 10, I continued to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. They know who they're talking to promptly. They didn't say, when you do something stupid, admit it. No, because I'll wait 8 months and turn it into you having offended me. Somehow. We had this amazing capacity I have this amazing capacity to turn my wrong into your wrong. But so I promptly admit these things. And it can be a lot of fun if you're new. When you're talking to a normal person and you're talking along and you're talking complete trash. It's just, just making stuff up. Because that's just what you do. You're used to doing that. Suddenly all of a sudden, you're just saying things that just are fundamentally not true. And if you're talking to a normal person and you just all of a sudden you just go, "Wait, time out. You know that stuff I just said the last 3 minutes? Complete and utter bullshit. I'm going to start over." And you start over and watch their face when you do that. They look at you like, "Did I just have a stroke? What just happened here? What do you mean? You're admitting to lying and now you're not? Am I following? What's going on?" And I know we're toying with the normal people, but it's fun and it's harmless, and and you get your integrity back in the moment. I mean, when we're wrong, we promptly admit it. 11, having had a spiritual awakening is the result of working these steps. I've been relieved of the obsession to drink and use. It's been removed. I have no interest in it. How did that happen? I don't know. Apparently, from working these steps as outlined in the book. and taken the actions that they suggest I take. Contrary action, I get a contrary result. And everything in the steps was a contrary action for me. I never thought of anything like that. I was not concerned with my integrity, my honor, trying to be a person of good standing, trying to be an honest person, trying to be of service to other people. What the hell are you talking about? Right? It was all contrary action that brought about a contrary way of viewing the world, of walking the earth. Right? I was a free man, no longer enslaved by alcohol and drugs. And having had that awakening, I could practice these principles and carry the message. So that's the 12th. The 11th is I sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God. I got a little ahead of myself there. The 11th step is to improve my conscious contact. And people say to me, how do you do that? How much time do I have left? I don't want to go over. A few minutes?
5 minutes, Al. 5 minutes. 5 minutes, Al. 5 minutes.
Go. I want to tell you two things, two stories. 12 is having had a spiritual awakening and having gotten my own house in order. I can now go to meetings, not to take from meetings, but to give. I can be there, and when somebody raises their hand needing help, needing a sponsor, or I notice them as, somebody's kicking in the corner, I can go over and be a caring, kind person and concern myself with their well-being rather than my own. A few months ago, last year, my cancer came back. I had 3 surgeries on my leg. I beat it. I'm fine. Apparently, I'm indestructible. I have absolutely no idea how I'm still here, but I'm fine. And I was walking along with this buddy of mine, and he just said, something's bothering you, man. This is the guy that I've sponsored for 30 years. Had to go to prison for a while in the middle and some other stuff. And he took 18 years, the 18th of this month, just a couple of days ago. And he said, I said, I don't know. Something's dogging me. I'm carrying something that I need to let go of, but I don't know what it is. And he said, just say it. What is it? Just say it. Put words on it. What is it? I said, we never finished the flight. And he goes, we can do something about that. And I said, okay. And what we did, he went and got a buddy of his who had an airplane. Yeah. Right. Me, plane crash boy. Right. We got an airplane and we got an instructor. And we went out on this plane. It was me, my wife, my friend, and this instructor, 4 of us. That's all that could get into this plane. It was so small. 4 seats, right? I got in the pilot's seat. The instructor sat next to me. And the deal was he would talk to the tower because they wouldn't let me take off. Who am I, right? But he had a pilot's license. He could go into the tower, chart up, here's our flight plan, blah, 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 paperwork, sign. See you later. We get in the plane, and I just said to him, I said, look, don't touch anything unless you think I'm going to put this thing into the side of a mountain or something, okay? He said, take it away, man. So we taxied out. I powered that thing up, popped the brakes, and went rocketing down this runway, and I took off. I flew an airplane. We went up in the sky, and we flew up the coast of California and looked at how beautiful everything is when it's from a distance, right? The coastline, the water. And then I banked that bad boy out and brought it down and made a perfect 3-point landing and parked it. And I have a picture of me standing in front of the plane holding a picture of my mother and a picture of my little sister in my hands because I took pictures of them with me. And I don't carry that weight anymore. I finished the flight for us. And that's just, there's a million stories like that in Alcoholics Anonymous. If you're new, congratulations. You're loved. I love you. I don't necessarily like you. I mean, I don't know you well enough to like you, but I do love you because I know what it takes to sit in this demented Hollywood squares we got going on here. I know what it takes to come here and raise your hand and say, I have 6 days. I have tremendous respect for that. right? So if you're new, go to regular meetings, get a sponsor. After that sponsor, move in the direction of that sponsor. Do what's asked of you as outlined in the doctor's opinion in the first 164 pages. And amazing things will come to pass. You'll be relieved of the obsession of drink and use. You'll be able to be comfortable sober. I've been comfortable and I've been sober, but I've never been both at the same time until I got to the ANA. This is where a guy like me can be comfortable, sober, and build a life. I had a 40-year career. I've retired. I'm a music lover. I played the guitar for 30 years, longer than that now. And I quit. Um, I retired, and now I'm learning to become a luthier. I'm building guitars. I just finished my first guitar that plays great, electric guitar. Um, so I'm learning. I'm the new guy now, and I have the humility, which is the willingness to learn that you gave me. And now I'm learning to build things that make music, to bring something good into the world. And I'm having a blast. I've been with the same woman for 28 years. That's impossible. I'm 70. I'm 45 years sober. I'm 73 years old, and I'm having a ball. If you knew, who you're going to get introduced to in here is you. I've found my life, my way, using the path of Alcoholics Anonymous. Please stay here with us and find yours. And I wish you nothing but peace along that journey. Thanks for letting me share, guys.